and we had some really cool things about. We had some really cool experiences getting to see the people that have been here before. Okay, so I'm the new guy, not a new guy, but I'm the new guy here. So what I want everybody to do is relax, because I'm one of those people. I'm high speed all the time, never stop till it's done, and I still keep going. Okay, but I don't want you to think that you have to be that way. All right, that's just my nature. It's how I'm wired. But what I do want you to understand is that I've been a union member. Billy was telling me that he's been a union member since 1966, and I said I've been a union member since 1960. I was union made, and I was born in 1960.
All right.
And so all the way. My history is this, very briefly. I grew up in a blue-collar family. I'm not ashamed of that one bit. I was around the days when my grandfather was brought into Local 600. Dave Meinel and I were having this conversation. That's back during the Master Freight Agreement. Okay, my father and my grandfather used to talk about the issues of the day. My father was in 688 Teamsters, which became the first union job I had. When I was 20 years old, I drove on a bread and cake truck, but he worked as a warehouseman. But it's a huge, gigantic local lodge in St. Louis, Missouri. Dave Meinel is very familiar with that. He actually knows the business agent that mentored me as being a shop steward. And so I've been a shop steward ever since I've been in the labor movement. Now, not the first day, okay, but my heart's always been there. But it was, after the first year or so. So I've been a union steward for almost 34 years or so, 35 years now. I've always been a steward. I've been a trainer in the Midwest Territory for stewards and for officers for the last 10 years. So I see how all of these things affect us. My background at TWA with like Brother Charles here and Mario, and then we have Robert Roach. I was approached by Charles. We have one thing that we have to look at here, the PBGC. We live it. We know it. So I don't know it as much as this brother knows it, because I'm missing 7 years of a pension, and I have a paltry sum of just a few years. So I'm going to ask him what I'll probably get or maybe not get. Is probably the easier way to put it. But what we're going to do is look at some of these things. Now, I was a mechanic and worked at TWA all the way up to the merger of American Airlines, and I wound up getting the axe at American, came on board with the Midwest Territory staff, and now this is my latest position. Okay. So I just wanted you to kind of have a background so you know that I've served in all types of different positions in the union communications, in the legislative committees. I've been up here on the Hill many times, been back at the state with Dave back when we were on the Missouri State Council Machinists. So I have a background of what we do. It's not about, oh, this is what I've done. I've worked with all of you and every one of us together, because what happens to you happens to me too. That's the way I look at it. Dave and I have the same philosophy on that. We care about people, and we're union people. So I want to put that to rest. Okay, so here's the other part of this. I'm not going to have some big fancy PowerPoint and everything. I want to bring this up and we'll be writing on the board. So I want everybody to start taking some notes. We had some really good reports here. So we have 4 teams. These teams, what I want to do is I want to start to collectively take one person or a couple of people to have the highlights of those reports, so we can have another merger of what some of those ideas would be, take out the redundancies, because I have another part that we're going to add to this. Okay, but here's the thing. We can make any plan we want. We have all the parts, we have all the processes, we've got every single thing that we can think of, imaginable directions and everything, but we need the catalyst. What is the catalyst? The catalyst is we need the people to be able to do it. So what I've come up with is this concept. I've heard this. I don't want to expect someone that's put their years in already to go back out there and have to do all this work. What I want it to be is just like Sister Fleming said, we want this to be a good time. Because you know what? This isn't really work. The way I've always explained is being a steward, being a union person, this is a way of life. You don't clock out as a steward. When you're mowing your grass, you're thinking of that grievance, you're thinking of that person, you're thinking of those people in the shop. So the catalyst is us. It's our person, it's our principle. That's the catalyst. We have to make that live on. Now, we don't have to work ourselves to death to do that. But I refuse to allow these people that keep getting put into office to keep taking away from us. We've got to take away their ability to take away from us. And that's what they were talking about yesterday. Why is it so imbalanced? All right? Now, that's the cool part, getting up to be able to get everybody riled up. The part that we're going to do now is the boring part. How do we start putting all this together? You know, yeah, there's some grunt work here. You got to be able to get to talk to people. You got to be able to get people activated, motivated. How do we get them re-energized, re-interested? It's going to be very simple at face value, because as soon as we start seeing some of these things happen, people are going to wake up right away. It's not just a union movement, it's everybody. Everybody's welfare is at stake here. Now let me explain something to you. Let's go to, and a brother asked me yesterday, it was Frank, asked me about a union history project he's involved in. I got the union history book for us for the IM, so I could bring that for the brother, okay?
Thank you, brother.
And the reason why I want to go into this part of it is I want everybody to think about something in history. People say that Social Security, and they say that Medicare, and they say all these things that are they're ruining everything. It can't be done. It's impossible. This is a brainwashing, all right? Because anything the mind can conceive, we can achieve if we believe in it. And I'll give you a case in point. 1888, there were 19 brave men that finally had said, we have enough. It's enough. They stood together, had to meet in secrecy, no protection, shot, killed. Actually, the founder of this union was murdered, all right? So here's where we're at. With no protection for 38 years, they drove on until their Railway Labor Act was passed. How did that get passed? It didn't fall out of the sky. It did not. It was because people started to organize. The people of the time had the collective interest. Do you believe what I'm saying? The collective interest, the labor movement was moving on. It wasn't just this union. The labor movement came to birth. It was born. Back in those days, we finally got protection through the collective efforts, not only of the Machinist Union, but all of the union movement. Now, we have to go forward. We were 47 years on the other side of this, on the National Labor Relations side. The NLRA, 1935, the Depression. I know we don't remember those days, we weren't there, but we know what it was like. So if you look at history, and you look at where we came from, where it was the lowliest of low life, to work under the suppression of the robber barons of the time, it is no different than today, where you have less than 1% of the people that hold 90% of the wealth in this country. History has repeated itself. Overtime has become a benefit to people. That is wrong. Overtime is a penalty hour. If you go back to the Fair Labor Standards Act, that's what that was put in place for. The union bargaining agreement enhanced that, so we had better pay. So we're not ever going to give up. It's not impossible. Okay? What we're going to do is the basics, like what we did. Now here's the cool part about it. Why did the union movement grow so strong? Because everybody was fed up with it, weren't they? And guess what? There were a lot of industries, weren't there? There were a lot of industries that had to do what? They had to produce a product, didn't they? So guess what? People banded together and said, you know what? We're tired of working like this. We're tired of working under these conditions. So you know what happened? They became unionized. They became so strong that what had to happen is, and my dad talked about this, 1947. He was born in 40, but I heard about this in 1960s. The Taft-Hartley Act is the worst thing that ever happened. My old man used to say that all the time. I didn't know what he was talking about. I didn't know what he was talking about, Me Too agreements or Taft-Hartley Act. What's all this? But here's the takeaway. Taft-Hartley Act came in, you know why? Because they realized that we weren't looking at, you take it nationwide, it was probably 35% maybe union density. You know, in some cities it was 100%. Okay, so where did all of this stuff all of a sudden start happening? Oh, we're protecting the workers? No, they wanted us out of the political arena. Okay, so now they got Citizens United. They don't want us in the political arena, but then they said we could be in there if we want to. Except, guess what? Koch brothers, everybody gets to spend all the money they want to. We can't touch the Treasury for dues, though. Why not? We're people. Aren't they people? Corporations are people, my friend. So are union organizations. Look at the Citizens United decision. We are getting hosed both ways. So, now let's go back to why the people, right? People that needed to stand together, right? Guess what? 10,000 people per day are retiring as we speak. So this is going on for the baby boomer years from the 1964 to 1944 to 1964. This is going to continue to 2030 or so. And guess what? There are going to be, just at face value, if you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you look at some of these other projections, the Kaiser Foundation, there's different numbers. So I can't, please don't quote me on the exact number, but it's close to 70 million people, face value right now, without the current survivors. What does that tell you? We have what we need. We have the Army that we need. You know why we're going to need it? Because they're going to take away Social Security. They want to take away Medicare. They want to privatize all this. Are they kidding? What happened to your 401ks? Anybody that had one? It vaporized a couple of times. I know how the money goes in. That's simple. I don't know of anybody that's really getting any money out of it, except the aggregate investment, maybe, if they were lucky. So what we have to do is have a simple plan to be able to talk to people, to educate them on the simplest ways. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you to think of the most simplest way. I don't want people to have a giant structure. I don't want to build something so large it's going to take us, by the time we learn how to do it, it's all over with. I want us to be able to start with something basic. Okay? So here's what we want to do. How many of us were here for the Retirees Conference back in November? Okay? I know there was a lot of them. And so we have roughly 20 to 25% of the people here are all coordinators. Okay? And so I want to thank you for doing that, for being part of the coordinators. So I'm going to just review slightly. We talked about this impending crisis. It's not even that it might happen. It's happening. People are coming out of the workforce at roughly 10,000 a day, and it's not stopping. Okay? So what we have to look at is, what else do we have? We have familial issues. We have people that are not able to afford, from the cuts or the lacks of increases in other that come from their pensions being eliminated, going to the PBGC, everything. We have the opposite effect of when all the jobs started leaving with NAFTA, where all of the greatest imports we had were jobs and industries. That's why the Social Security system started getting crippled right there. No one wants to talk about those truths. Put the money back. Okay? So we have to look at this from a family standpoint. Our kids don't have jobs. They have to stay with us. My kids have college degrees. My daughter has a master's. She can't get a job with her master's because they don't want to have to pay her at a school board. She's not going to exercise that for free. I taught her not to do that. Because I won't do that as an aircraft mechanic to work, just so I can have an aircraft mechanic's job and say, oh, I'm an aircraft mechanic. I'm not doing it by principle. I'll work at another job. Because when I was a janitor in the airline, and when I got laid off and went back as janitor, they laughed at me because I was still going to school. I said, I'll tell you what, laugh all you want, but I have a union. I have benefits. I have insurance. And I get to fly first class next to your boss. Right, Mario? So, what I'm saying is, this is real. This is basic. We can do this. We can do this. All right? The family unit. What we've got to do is get everyone educated. On the tab 1, what I've got set up is so that you can see young people in Social Security. You don't have to get into a great big ordeal about this today. It's something for you to start to absorb, because we've got to teach our kids some things. Now let's talk about some of the kids that we work with in the shops. I worked with some of these kids in the shops. When I was 35, I had kids coming in that were 20, 21 years old, right out of A&P school. And there would be an airplane that wouldn't be in the hangar because it was still out somewhere. Right, Charles? It would be out. And something would happen. Mechanical. We're waiting on it to come in so we could work on it. Clean up the hangar. Oh, well, the broom handle doesn't fit my hand. I'm not taking out the trash. I'm a mechanic. Really? Seriously. You're not going to take mechanics' pay to sweep the floor? So what we have to do is teach them value. Values. What are the values? Well, now we had the kids that lost the jobs or couldn't get jobs, that's paid for education. They're in debt forever, cradle to grave with these loans. I've had to help my daughter with one. And here's the deal. What are we getting back? I mean, really, what are we getting back? Well, we're not getting anything back unless we come back for it. We want it back. My humble opinion is this, and when I was married, my mother-in-law had this philosophy. If they're going to put all these machines in to take people's jobs, the machines should be paying Social Security. Now, she was from Sicily, and she was born in the 40s, and she just passed a couple years ago, God bless her. But I want to tell you what, she was a very intelligent woman. And I thought, you know, this is right. So for every job that leaves this country, they ought to have to pay Social Security for the hours it would have taken to make that, and our Social Security fund would be up there. That's my humble opinion.
I heard that.
That's my humble opinion. Now, our kids, they come back. Now the parents are going to be coming back home. We're faced with another huge impending crisis. This is true. Where are all these 10,000 people a day going to go? Who is going to take care of them? We don't have the resources for people to take care of them. It's not even funny how many people. It's a tragedy when we sit down. It's very sobering. You start to think about that. So we've got to start to educate the young people in the shop today to embrace the people that have worked, to help them remain part of the union so they know that we're there. They're going to come there one day, or they hope that they're going to be there to get their pension. We got to introduce this to our children who have maybe skipped generations of not being able to be in the union movement. My kids were, with me. They know what unions are. Their friends don't. So this is all about educating the whole family. We got to go from cradle to grave on our side now. And we've got to teach those values. We've got to teach those values in the shop. So it's a very simple process. So what I propose is this. We're going to have some time, and I'm going to have everybody, I had a little printing problem this morning, and we've gotten through that. But what we're going to do in a little while is we're going to work on a couple of things. And I'm not going to have anybody thinking that I want you to kill yourself. But I've got, this looks bigger than this. There's 4 pages here, but I've got different topics, and they're going to be double-sided hole punch so you can take it with you. But what I want to propose is this, that we look at this as some breakout groups. We need to look at the formation of a communication structure. I'm going to show you my plan, and I'm going to ask you to embrace what I'm doing or help me, suggest to me how I can make that better. I'm here to make it better. I'm here, this is the one thing I want to clarify too. Anybody that knows me like this. If I'm going to build something, it's going to be built right. And it's going to be built better. It's going to be built to last. If you can find a way to make it fail, I want it to fail so we can fix it, so we can anticipate that. Because one thing you learn as an aircraft mechanic is this. If you can't anticipate failure, you're in for some real hard times. You're in for some real bad disappointment because it will fail. So we anticipate failure and we try to avoid that. So I take no offense to any criticism or to anything that will help us build this plan. So the formation of a communication structure is what we need to do. The commitment is the big thing. And I'm not asking all of you to sign papers and all this, but we're going to talk about how the structure is to where we have these commitments so that every person, every retiree, no matter how isolated they might be, will have an opportunity to be able to be part of this structure. We need to look at the composition of this communication structure. You can make this at your lodge level. You can make a suggestion if it's through the district or if it's just within the club. It does not matter. Everybody counts. Everybody counts, okay? The intent and the purpose of the goals of this communication structure, I think we're all going to have the same answer. The way that the structure is going to operate, we're going to monitor the effectiveness of this structure so that it doesn't just go away. Because see, I'm the guy that has to have all of these calls and all of this assessed. So I need this for me. And if it's not working, I want to make it work. So the takeaway here for this is this. We're out to relink the base, locate all of our retirees. So like it goes back to what I was just saying. We know that their retirees are out there. They're coming out of the rows. Okay? So we are at the same time doing the same thing that the labor movement did when it was born, when this great union was founded. Okay? The difference is, guess what? We're already union members. we don't have to organize anybody. We just have to reorganize who we are and where we're at. And not exceed any expectations. Make reasonable goals. Okay, basic stuff. Basic. Whatever, we can do. So what we have to do then is look at the networking of the structure for the clubs, for members, for people who wouldn't be able to, let's say, sustain a club, or people who wouldn't be able to maybe have the mobility to go that distance to go to a club, just so that we have a way to stay with them. Then the other part here is networking to increase the base. Now, the retiree base is going to increase, and like Dave was saying, we have people in a city, like where Dave is. I was at his meeting. He says, Ed, we have our people that they're passing on. There's nothing you can do to stop that. I mean, really. So we have to open the door to help other people. Okay, so long as they share those interests and those common goals, we have to look for the ways to unite with them and help them. And then to learn who all the affiliate groups are, retiree clubs, local, state, regional, and national chapters. Now I'll tell you what, with what Dave has right here, the ARA, that's the first starting point. And Tony, and I'm going to have, it's Tony and Dave, and then Brother Phillips, Marlon. We're going to have him I'll talk about this in a little while, about how they've gotten some of this stuff together. Then on the last part here, this is what I'd like to finish by Thursday. And then on Friday, we'll just do a wrap-up. But it's just to do the combination of the planning worksheet that you had with Larry with the clubs. Then we're going to take, what we have here, and I'll have a couple more copies of this, so we'll have a master. So then you'll be able to keep your copies. We can all take the notes. I can even make a copy of the final plan. It's not a great big formal plan. It's just an action plan. Then that would be finalizing the strategy. Okay, so I'll show you what my plan is, and I'll have these printed for us. I just emailed out for that. Does anybody have any questions? If you guys would just let me get a word in edgewise, we could get through this.
How much coffee do you have?
I don't think it's a coffee, baby.
Not enough. I'm high octane, I told you.
Type 8. You're type 8.
Okay.
You got type 8.
So now, yes.
I want to call the attention to the difference between airline mechanic and automotive mechanic or structural or whatever. The car is not working, the mechanic will tell you, bring it back. Airline mechanic, the airplane is not working, bring it back. It crashed already.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
Like American Airlines is doing.
Okay.
I check the light bulb. That's not a mechanic. Anybody can do it.
Very good. Excellent point, Mario. Okay, so I have a math problem for you, brother. Okay, so you're an aircraft mechanic, right? What's your specialty?
Okay, go ahead.
What's your specialty?
My specialty is structures.
Structures.
Yeah.
Very good. So wings, right?
Yep, springs,
Airfoil. Airfoil.
Power plant,
Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about airfoil. Let's talk about structures. You said structure, right? All right, so we're going to do a small math problem here. Everybody with me, all right? So let's just say we're talking about wing one, left wing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're sitting there looking out the window. You're sitting with passenger. You tell the flight attendants, hey, I'll be willing to sit here because I'm an aircraft mechanic and I'll stay on board with you to help evacuate if we need to. I'll get the down lock for you if you need that. Oh, they love it. And people say, oh, we're safe, we got an aircraft mechanic with us. And like, well, so, yeah, I got it, okay? So I take that as a compliment, and after I make sure that they're okay, with joking around and stuff, because they started that, and I'll say, well, let me ask you a question. You pretty good at math? And they'll say, well, yeah, kind of. I said, well, look out here. I said, I'm going to ask you this question, brother. So we got this wing out here. Let's just say 737, and you can put borderline in there if you want to, whatever. Okay, all the canoes and everything. How many nuts, bolts, fasteners, let's just say rivets, high locks, cam locks, how many, and cables and wires and everything? How many are in that wing out there? Assume. Tell me how many you assume are out there. You're the passenger. You're sitting there. Tell me how many you assume are in that wing. Just give me a number.
A number.
Somebody give me a number.
30,000.
30,000. I want to hear some numbers. How many you assume are in that wing?
No, but we weigh them together.
Hopefully all of them. All right?
That's good.
Don't joke around. Hopefully all of them. We're all can. Right, Marty?
Actuators.
Yes, okay.
I've been around. I've been around it about time.
See?
I'm going around.
It's reality, man. It's reality. Okay? All right, no joking around. Serious business.
That reminds me of... You see a washer on the floor, something's wrong.
That reminds me of a time I was riding with my grandfather. He said, "Oh man, look at that cemetery out there. Look at all the people out there in that cemetery." He said, "How many you think's out there in that cemetery are dead?" I said, "Oh my God, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a number." And in my head looking, he said, "All of them."
Hopefully.
Yes, sir.
See, that's why you say assume. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, the structural plan, I'm trying to look at this, there's a lot of wordiness here, but I don't want to overcomplicate it. Of course, we talk, like what Larry talked about, we have to have the commitment of somebody who's enthusiastic, okay, that wants to be part of this. And I'm going to get copies of this for everyone. I just didn't want everybody being deluged with paper, so I want it to be nice for you. Okay? And so we have to set realistic goals so we can maintain and achieve that, maintain the structure as simple as possible, and build it as we need it. If we have to have more resources, that's what we're here for, to help you build up the resource, but keep it simple, okay? So we have to work on getting support from the lodge. This is what Larry was talking about, and working with all of the retirees and working with the union, because that's what we're here for. We're here to stay in touch with retirees, and we need the people to be able to embrace that at the lodges and the districts. So this relinking the base concept is that it's very simple. There's a communication structure. I want to try to show you this in a minute, where we set it up on a per territory basis. And what it does is it helps us with conference calling. Because if I did a conference call right now, we have a cross-section across all of North America. That's great, okay? But the deal is, do we get anything done? It's just like I could have all presenters up here and not do a workshop and not come out with a plan, and we had a great infomercial, right? I mean, I'm serious. I'm not taking away from any of the presentations, because they're all great. It's all good stuff. I've been to hundreds and hundreds, but what I'm getting at is we have to have a workable plan. A very simple, workable plan. Okay? So what we have to do is look at what it's going to take for us to get our networking going, locate the members, locate the clubs, the expectation of the club itself, what can they really do? Let's not overtax them. And how can we help the retiree? How can we help the retiree? That's what we're trying to do. It's not what can you do for me, what can we do for you? What can we do to help you build your club? What can we help you to have people to be able to participate? So it's going to be the strategy of putting together some good networking plans. So one of the concepts here I have is we get an assignment or commitment from a territory coordinator through the GVP, and this person would coordinate with the people from the territory, so that when I send out a communication, they're going to be able to know that everything within the territory, they're getting the same thing. So it's going to have this effect where it goes all the way down. All the email addresses and everything are going to remain so that I have them on a BCC, so that no one can get hijacked. No one's going to have that compromise, I'm hoping. Because only the coordinators on the in-between side, when they send stuff or someone sends it back, we have to start to teach people about internet security so that it saves them, so they don't get hijacked and think that it's me or you, and then they wind up with a virus, and like Larry was saying, there's a scamware out there where they scam people, and so it's not even funny. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just trying to say, you know what, we have to learn these things, okay? So the common goals of this whole entire part here is to get the commitment of the activists, and that's only going to be done through a couple of different ways. And how do you get somebody to have that commitment? Well, first off, they have to be enthusiastic and be able to do it and want to do it, and that depends on their ability. So we have to keep in mind what that is. We have to be very aware, right? So in order to get that, what are we going to try to do? Well, we locate them. We want to organize a really the base. How do you come up and ask me? You know, I'm going to tell you, if we're working on an aircraft, what do? We want to find out what are your strengths and weaknesses. What are you specialized in, brother? We got to fix this. We got to rig spoilers. We got to do something. Who is going to be in charge of what? Because you know more than me, or I know more than you, vice versa. On one part, we have to be able to find out who's the best fit for that, so that he's not miserable thinking, say, you know what? I have no idea, you know, what we're talking about with this throw here, with, you know, how many degrees, you know, all this, okay? Or vice versa, we're talking, you know, where it's a cable tensioning and all that on an older aircraft, okay? So just basics, just like this. I don't know how to use a computer. I don't know how to use a cell phone. Well, some people don't have cell phones. But let me just tell you this, because I'm going to get off topic slightly, but on that, this was 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago, I did the veterans class here, and one of the things that always comes up at discussions is, well, you know, there's a lot of people out there, they just won't get on board with the new technology, these smartphones, because everything is going away from the flip phone. And I said, you know, I'm with you. I understand, because I said, I could tell you if I had $10,000 right here in this smartphone, and I laid it down, and I said, here, Mom, you learn how to use this smartphone, and I'll give you 10 grand. She'd say, you can throw that in the trash and take your 10 grand because I don't want it. But let me reassure you of this. That was then. Today, you're not going to believe this. I called my stepfather, because he's always on this old plan. I said, Bob, I want you to realize there's a new phone plan. I said, I would feel guilty after you've shown me all these other cool things with like the Fire TV and everything. I said, you're very technologically advanced. Oh, no, I said, hear me out. I showed him this phone. You know what he did? He bought 2 of the phones. They canceled the other phone service and their home line. And he said, Eddie, here's what we do. And my mom and my friends all call me Eddie. Here's what we're doing. Your mom's going to learn this. And I said, oh, my gosh. I was afraid to call my mom. I really was. I'm not kidding. Oh, no, I did not. No, he does that. No, he does what
Well, you turned him on.
Well, but I didn't know that he was going to buy that. He said he was going to look at it.
Yeah.
Now, my mother is learning this new technology, and she is 74 years old. And my stepfather is 74. So what I'm telling you is that what we need to do is have some of the young people, and Tom had said this before, is we have to embrace what they know too, because they are the future, right?
Right.
So they will be able to help us. My grandson showed me how to use my smartphone. I'm not embarrassed by that, because I was ready to throw mine down, except I paid a lot of money for it. A couple $100 for that silly phone, right? But he taught me. He said, oh, Papa, here, you do this and this and this. And I'm like, oh, hang on. But he did it. So I thought, you know what? The organization changed. I had to get an iPhone, so I had to learn. I said, you know what? I'm getting my own personal phone. I'm getting an Android. So I learned. So I had 2 different phones. I learned both systems, and I'm not an ace by any chance. But I can tell you this. I know how to use the technology, so don't be afraid of it. What we need to do is have the people to show us how. It's more easy and simple than what you would ever imagine once you get used to it. So I want to try to encourage people with that. So I'm sorry I got off topic, but that's part of what we have to do because of this word right here. It's organize. How do we define organizing? And I don't want Larry to say anything. How do we define organizing? What is it? What is organizing?
Communication.
And what? Education. So when you have communication and education, you're able to organize, because guess what? All that paper you see me wrestling with back there, if that wasn't organized, which it probably isn't that well, but it could be a real mess. It's a nightmare. If all the people are scattered all over, they're not organized. When we're organized, we're together. When we show up at the polls for the right reasons and we all vote together, we win. We always win historically. It's been there, yes.
I think organizing is more than that. I think that it's a force. Force is moving something from A to B. So accomplishing a task takes more than communication, but it's as a unit taking care of the mission or taking care of the task. So it's a force. Force is equal mass times acceleration.
Right.
And acceleration is change. Change from one place to another place. And so now I'm not talking about use the force loop. I'm not talking about that. Like
He's talking about a physics problem.
And so social physics. When you organize a group, even in an area where there's a lot of organizing going on, let's just take the NBA right now. I like basketball. Got a bunch of teams playing. They play very, very well. But some people come in and they organize really good, and some don't. The ones that do excel, who are good organizers, compete with other good organizers. Right now, we see that the Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers, they've got the best coaches or the best organizers working with them now, because these guys are in the finals. So being able to take a group, not only to communicate, but get them all on the same page to move from one area to another and to accomplish a task. For the NBA is to win the championship.
Okay, listening to what he just said, I'm not going to do a physics problem, but I want to show you how what he just said, how it relates to what I just said. Force times area equals pressure. That's a physics math problem, okay? Because that's the laws of physics, right? Organizing, when we have the education, and I don't want to use the wrong formula here, but if we have education and we have communication, then what we wind up is with, all of the education which we have to have the force with the area to have this pressure. So let's just say that's the organization for the lack of a better thing. So we have education, communication, we're organized, okay? And what this does is it just shows you that you have the people behind you up there to put the pressure at the table for the employer. They are compelled to meet with us at the table because the law says so, and we can't let them take that away. So it's no different, in all honesty, than this simple math problem. It's the pressure. The organization is the pressure. So we're able to put that on them because we have all the people behind us. We're only as strong as the weakest one of us, and we can't allow anybody to be left behind. So don't write that down because I'm not a math major. But I just wanted to say that I was relating to what he said. So the organizing is really the key component to this, and the coolest part of it is that we are already all union members. Okay, so what we have to do is figure out our structure. So we have to try to help retirees by locating them, help the people form the clubs. Okay, so we want to be able to do the basic things that are going to help people do that. So identifying the needs that they have. Okay, what are the needs they have? What are the resources that we can provide to them? And then what is it that they can provide as help for us? It's not just stuffing envelopes. There are people that are very computer savvy. We've got retirees here. We got a guy right here, Doug Curler. 2081, was the website award and newsletter, I believe, right? At the convention.
It was a communicator of the year.
Communicator of the year. My apologies.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mike King, who is a guy I worked with for 10 years, comes out of Wisconsin too. Unbelievable with the skills. That man and I sat up and organized a campaign. We were one number off. Could have let it go and said, well, hey, we're a number off. You know what? No, not Mike King. You know what he did? we did everything but go into the binary code of that machine, and he fixed the problem, and it was a software glitch, and he reported it to them. So what I'm telling you is there's a lot of people, you know, and he'll tell you, I don't really know that much. No, he knows more than what he thinks he does. We all have something to give here. And I don't want someone to have to give their all the time. I just want everybody to be able to come into this so that we all benefit from it. Because everybody, we've already worked for this. We're going to have all the people that are coming out of the workplace here to join our ranks. Okay, look at it this way. I would be willing to bet that we're going to have the majority of the majority if we really look at this correctly. Can somebody maybe, and I haven't done this yet, but if we could get a projection for 2030, 2032 of the population projection. Okay, and then we'll look up the BLS and see what the percentages are based on age. And we add that up, we could put a math problem up here, just a real basic one, to see about what that voting block would be like. Because we have to take in consideration the people that are already retired, that have survived up to that point, how many people are going to be there, and then in between, you'd be able to see that graph of how many people would be able to influence the right thing to do. That's what we're out to do. Does that sound over complex? Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Where are we at? What's it, 9:15? Okay, cool.
Okay, but as far as keeping an open mind,
Yes.
we also have to keep an
9:37.
open mind
Yeah,
that we
it's like
are going to
9:37.
run into elderly.
ATT.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That we do need them to still be part of our networking.
Right.
By word of mouth. So
Right.
low tech, let's try extra hard not to offend anybody by pushing the high tech.
No.
If they've got a roadblock against learning high tech, they're beyond that part in their
Understood.
lives.
Understood.
We still need them to be low tech networking.
Yes.
By word of mouth, because they still have absolute value
Yes,
for
they do.
helping us to get organized. So,
Thank you.
as much as I believe in the high tech, and that's the easiest way to network, we still need.
Why do we need them? Because they can't do it, and they don't want to do it, and we have to respect that, and then we're going to reach out to them.
And they'll reach out to the ones that they
Right.
are of the same mind too.
So we're going to stay.
We don't computer,
Thank
we
you.
don't have smartphones, but we still need to pull them in too.
Exactly, and
They
that's
still have a vote.
that's what we're going to put. That's what we're going to put on here.
Yeah.
Because we need a plan for that too.
We don't
That's
want
the
to
basic
offend
plan.
we don't want to offend anybody.
No. What do we say? Everybody counts.
Yeah.
Everybody counts. We can't forget that. Everybody counts. Hold on one second, brother. Yes, Susan.
It's not so much that low tech or high tech or something. The only thing you do is you've got smartphones, you've got quite an expense. You're talking about
No. Oh, okay.
adding $90.
No. Let me say this. I'm not advocating that people buy smartphones. I'm not advocating that people endure any expenses. Here's all I'm advocating is open their mind to learn the new systems, whether it's on the computer or whether it's on a phone. And I only gave you the story about my mother because my mother, she wouldn't even open up. She worked on a computer at the hospital, and that's it. She would not touch the computer ever since she's been retired for 12 years. And my stepfather was actually got her to the point now where she can read texting, and she knows how to take a picture and send a picture. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to send them one, and I'm going to ask her to send it back so I can show you. Because I'm from Missouri.
I'm just why people are not, it's not that they're afraid of technology. A lot of people, particularly people on fixed income, don't want the added expense of that. So, I mean, whereby they may not have a smartphone, they're not afraid of going and getting a computer and doing something on that or the other. So I was just presenting another idea as to why people don't have that.
Right, okay. I just didn't want anybody to misunderstand that I was advocating that you guys, everybody's got to buy a smartphone, because I'm not ever going to do that. No. But I just wanted to make everybody feel comfortable to be able to reach out and be receptive to learning, as my mom did. Hold on one second, brother. Yes, Dave?
had a program in the Alliance back in '08. It was a Road Runner program. We went to all different states. What was happening was the ALEC impact, where they were trying to eliminate federal workers in the social worker industries, especially in Indiana.
Yeah.
And they put into place, the governor eliminated all of the social workers and contracted it out. In order to get your monthly stipend, you had to, number one, have a telephone. Most of these people were elderly and were living on an income of around $200 or $300 a month. So what that state did was eliminated their base of people-to-people contact that were helping their citizens, turned it over to this company. The company had an incentive to make money if they knocked the welfare rolls down. And they did it automatically because the people weren't educated enough to use the electronic systems to enter onto that, and it was a disaster.
So-
And that's what, if we don't teach elderly people how to use these electronic devices, they're going to be subject to that same.
Right, and I get that. So here's the thing that I'm thinking now, because we're talking about creating some good solutions. Okay, and like I said, we have to take what the young people know. We have caregivers, and we have to have trusted caregivers. We have to have people that, because I mean, we're trusting our folks with these people. We're going to be entrusting someone with our future, or let's say in the future with maybe our health and welfare. So there's going to become an issue there, because you're right, because there's a lot of places you can only go through the internet, like American Airlines. You better not call them if you're an employee. You go through the internet, or they'll probably fire you just for calling them, unless it's a life or death emergency. So the deal is this: if we looked at a way so that we would have people that could be trusted, that could help them with some of these. I'm not talking about bank accounts and things. I'm talking about basic services.
Basic services.
Right, to help them.
That's in the community services part.
Right. That would be good. We'd have to try to look at, where could we find a way to get that? Because I think that's very much needed, because if my grandfather were here, he would not have any idea, because he started off with, plowing fields with, the mule. I mean, that's what he told me when he was a kid. So can you imagine him living through all the way up to now, to where, my uncle even can't believe I could take a picture and send it to him while I'm talking to him on speakerphone. He can't fathom it. Okay, so what I'm telling you is, I get that. So I don't want people to be, I don't want anybody to be left out. So the people that can't, or just say, I'm just afraid of it, I don't want to do it, that's okay. We're going to figure out how we can still get to them by word of mouth and phone call, whatever. Yes?
I learned this recently. If you have an old phone, you don't need anymore, you can always charge it, because you can always call from that phone 911 when it helps.
Yes, very
It's
good.
like emergency.
I was trying to say, it doesn't even have to be charged. You hit 911 and put them in dead for 3 years, they will show up.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah.
An old phone.
An old phone that's been dead. But one thing that I wanted to say that technology is continually evolving. So if you don't educate yourself because you're a senior, you're going to be like a person that's illiterate, that does not know how to read.
Correct.
Because everything you do is online. Everything. It's even moving into the grocery store self-checkout. Is there going to be a day when we go in this grocery store and there's no human doing anything? You don't know how to operate that little computer there. You're going to be illiterate, totally. So that's going to wipe out a lot of people. And I was sharing with Dave, I mean, next door to AT&T regional director, and one time him and my husband were talking all of it, and he was saying that in the next 5 to 7 years, there won't even be a landline. They're working on a program right now that everything is going to be through the internet. You won't believe it, because they have noticed that cell phones came out, a lot of people do not even use their landline. So if you don't get yourself educated now, you're just gonna be in that lost part of the world, because
I agree.
you'll be illiterate.
In my travels, let's see, it was a couple weeks ago, I was doing conference calls and emails with Larry and everybody all off of my iPhone.
Yes.
So I totally, it's no longer just a phone, it's a communications device with a computer. Okay.
I'll take that, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
So I've been blessed to have two moms, a mom and a stepmom. One, she's 90, she appreciates the phone, and even the new phone, but she forgets to charge it. And I have a stepmom who likes to send pictures into Facebook, and she's 80-something, 89. So at one time, we liked 8-track tapes.
Yes.
8-track tapes was the bomb, you know what I mean? You can walk around, and then the cassettes came. That was nice. But times are changing. As a basketball referee, all of my assignments, all of my pay, all of my interaction is all done online. This is all through California, Arizona, all through the states. So this is if there's any benefit that we can do for the retirees, is those who need help, like making photos, Mark, trying to do a photo, is to be able to support and be able to teach and be able to show them how. That's all.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yes, Diane.
I think we have to kind of look at some things. Okay, your communication company, it saves them money to go fiber optics and whatever else, you know. Your grocery stores, I refuse to go through self-checkout.
Me too.
Me too.
It's somebody's job.
Somebody.
So, you know, we're losing our communication skills because everybody is texting and doing whatever. So, you know, we have to realize that we are people, our society is getting away from really caring about people, you know, because you can go online or whatever. So some things, you know, I think we look at, because it does evolve. And some of the things that are out now are going back to old ways. Look at your security breaches that are happening. So what are you going to do about that?
I know, it's insane what we have to put up with. But here's the point, well taken here. All right, and this is the other part of organizing. We have to communicate and we have to educate. We can never, ever, and this is my opinion, and it's been the opinion of many that I've ever worked with, you can never replace the face-to-face. And you can't. The human element, our interface with our members, our interface with our family, our interface with the community, with whoever it might be, that's what matters. All the emails, all the stuff, and all the campaigns. Yes, it's important to write letters. We're going to have a little bit of a cool time with writing a small little note here in a little while, letter. Too, that's another little activity we got. But I'll tell you, a handwritten letter today, just like you said, going back to the old ways, I've been up on the hill, and I've had my letters typed out, and I've seen form letters. They go to the trash can. Your letter could be there, but when you see a handwritten letter,
You open it.
what I'm saying is it's there when they see that, because they know someone wrote that. It wasn't generated.
Well, let's take a person out of the schools.
Yes, yeah, I understand. Right, yes, sister, I'm sorry, yes, go ahead.
What we do at our meetings is, after the meeting, we encourage the ones that want to learn the computers and the phones to stay over. And we bring in our laptops and our iPhones and we show them and work with them so that they'll know how to stay up to date.
That's a good idea. That's great. Yes, Juanita.
And they came back and pulled one down.
Say it again.
All the things that come back from our days, the Polaroid cameras
Oh.
are back.
Yeah.
Because all these pictures in these cell phones,
Yeah.
they're gonna be lost. People are looking for something that
Right.
looks for them.
Well, on one point with one, I'm sorry, Juanita, I didn't mean to cut you off. You said, I started to speak before you were finished, I apologize.
I said, was the Polaroid, I said the Polaroid
Right.
cameras came back.
Right, okay.
And I went back to using disposable, because young people say, you don't have a cell phone, you don't have a cell phone, I don't have a tablet, but I want to use this.
Right. Well, to your point, I'm going to share this with you. I was out at the Indiana State Council back in 2010, and that there was a huge earthquake that hit my daughter. My daughter Kelly, she was finishing up her master's, and she was in Hawaii doing some sort of a project with. She was getting into meteorology and everything. So the deal is, the cell phone towers were completely clogged up. You couldn't get to them, but I could text her.
Yes.
And she was able to text me, and that's why I was so adamant about trying to get my mother and stepfather on board, because even when those phone towers are clogged, the text will still come through a lot of the time. And that is such a peace of mind. So I think what we have to try to do is help everybody that we can, embrace everybody the best way we can, help them, if it's just to talk to them, to bring them in, to go to them, to help them learn the technology, whatever that takes, we're going to have to do. It's that extra step that I think that is not really a problem for me. I don't mind helping to do that. Okay, so let me go through. Does anybody have anything else to add to that before I go through this next part? Yes, Juanita?
Now, in my shop, I watch the computers and the barcodes and the modern technology. It forces people to have to retire. Because they were afraid of that technology, they were afraid of that computer.
Well,
they didn't want to follow the instructions and the directions, but they were just afraid of it.
They were, and so that is the modern machine, okay? Because when we looked at now, we have mechanized painting, mechanized welding. It did away with all those people too. So this is doing away with people too. We're going to have to learn, what it is that we have to do to bring everybody into this communication loop, no matter what. I mean, if we have to just talk to people, face-to-face is the way to go, no matter what. Okay, so the common task that I'm asking everybody to help me with, I'm asking you to help me so that I can help you, is we have to look at a couple of these goals here that we're looking at maintaining a visibility throughout all the territories and within our state councils and at conferences. So this is one of the things I thought was cool with the Veterans Program, is we came up with a plan, because they're not established as like this in as many places as this has been a longer ongoing program. So one of the ideas that I thought would work is that, it was mentioned yesterday, is the state councils, because at minimum we have 2 meetings per year per state. So if we look at that and just say it's 50 or 49, we have 98 to 100 meetings minimum. And then every other year we have an additional 6 to 7 meetings, because we have the territories. So we have that way to be able to have our visibility in the IAM structure. And then I just ask again, I'm reiterating, the realistic goals for all different levels of the structure or within the organization, because I don't want this to become a convoluted, complicated thing that's going to turn people off. I need it to be so that we can do it, because we can always build it up. We've got retiree clubs that they're probably empires, because they're very good, they're very healthy, vibrant, strong, they're huge. And we have some people that need to come into clubs, like, and we have 3 or 4 people, or maybe a couple dozen people. Same way with veterans. I was telling them that if they have a committee, they could have those veterans come to that committee. It's embracing all of the IAM structure. We're all union. It's us. It's ours, right? Okay, so assess the capabilities of what the coordinators are going to be able to do realistically, okay? Assess all of what anybody would do as being about realistically. What is it that you can do? What's your capacity? You can't work 7 days a week, or you can't work every Sunday, say, after 8 o'clock. I mean, we have to be realistic, okay? So the structure of the clubs and committees, what I want to do now is I'm going to look at some old figures, and I'm going to probably put a PowerPoint up for that, just to look at what we had, or what I know that we had. And so what I'm going to be doing now is reaching out, and I want to know what, you're not going to be able to give me all these answers today, I know, but I want to have it so that I know how many clubs we have that are functional, operational, who needs help, where are they trying to form some clubs, okay? That's the other part of what I'm going to work with as far as, bringing the entirety of the network, and that's going to be per territory and in the states. And then the other part of it is in the structure, okay, so where we have like a coordinator, and we have we want to have the coordinator from the territory that will be able to utilize sub-coordinators and then the clubs, the club presidents, so that we'll have one unified message to be able to go into those areas. We'll be able to have a very effective conference call when we need to. We need to address an area like, I was talking to Kevin Cummings, great guy. I asked him if he was going to be able to make it here a little while back, and he said he had a conflict in the schedule, but he's sorry, he wants to make the next one, I'm sure he will. But they have two states. That is anybody here who's from like in Oregon? Anybody from Oregon? Anybody from out that way? So California. Okay, so I believe it's Oregon and Washington State. They have early voting.
Yeah.
And so the thing is on a conference call, well, I have people all over in different territories, okay, and it's great for everybody to know this, but what I need to do is focus on that state, that territory, those two states in that territory. I need to be able to have a direct way to get there. So that's kind of like one example of what I'm saying. I'm not saying that that's all we're doing, but that's just one example of how one part of this new structure that I want to have, this will be effective. It's basic, simple. Now, with that being said, the person that's the contact for the territory will know, that the GVP will be in the know, that we have the retiree base over there taken care of. They need help, or what are they going to need to help that voter base over there, so that we can have people, resources, if it takes reallocation, whatever that might be. So we know. So that's kind of, I want you to think this is where I'm thinking, and I want feedback. I want to be able to have a way to do this. So the end game here is that when we have all of these things together, that we're going to show that all of the alliances that we form is going to allow the support and resources for all of the sizes of groups, from the smallest that even lacking any committee or anything would be able to affiliate within any territory or state council, or within a retiree club, as the members and activists within the local and just even in the community. We're going to reach out to those folks because everyone counts. We're going to combine the networking of all of the parts of the structure so that it's for the benefit of providing those resources throughout every territory and every other entity within the organization. Okay, and there's going to be a lot of other retirees and other unions that will be able to help us. Okay. So at the end game is it's going to help us work so that we keep to maintain and then hopefully gain back what they've been taken away from us, and we can work together to make sure that these benefits and services are there, not just for IM retirees, but for all retirees. All right, so that's really what I have that I want to start working on. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Yes, David.
Are you going to be working toward a base, a national base up in
Yes,
your office?
correct.
With the phone numbers and email if you can get them, so that, like your example, these two states, you can get your coordinators.
Right.
Tell them we're going to put a robocall into everybody. We have their phone numbers, and persons in that state will read a short, simple message. And then it will be sent to every person that you have the phone number for.
Well, I don't know if it's exactly that, but it's close, and I'd say it's really pretty much what we're trying to accomplish. Okay. Say it again.
Only thing that can come back from our days, the Polaroid cameras are back.
Yeah.
Because all these pictures in these cell phones,
Yeah.
they're going to be lost. People looking for something that was
Right. one point with one, I'm sorry, Juanita, I didn't mean to cut you off. You said, I started to speak before you were finished, I apologize.
I said, was the Polaroid, I said the Polaroid
Right.
camera that came back.
Right, okay.
And I used this, I went back to using disposable, because young people say, you don't have a cell phone, you don't have a cell phone,
Right.
but I want to use this.
Right. Well, to your point, I'm going to share this with you. I was out at the Indiana State Council back in 2010, and that there was a huge earthquake that hit my daughter. My daughter Kelly, she was finishing up her master's, and she was in Hawaii doing some sort of a project with. She was getting into meteorology and everything.
But I don't have that.
So the deal is, the cell phone towers were completely clogged up. You couldn't get to them, but I could text her.
Yes.
And she was able to text me, and that's why I was so adamant about trying to get my mother and stepfather on board, because even when those phone towers are clogged, the text will still come through a lot of the time. And that is such a peace of mind. So I think what we have to try to do is help everybody that we can, embrace everybody the best way we can, help them, if it's just to talk to them, to bring them in, to go to them, to help them learn the technology, whatever that takes, we're going to have to do. It's that extra step that I think that is not really a problem for me. I don't mind helping to do that. Okay, so let me go through. Does anybody have anything else to add to that before I go through this next part? Yes, Juanita?
Now, in my shop, I watch the computers and the barcode and the modern technology. It forces people to have to retire. Because they are afraid of that technology, they were afraid of that computer.
Well,
They didn't want to follow the instructions and the directions, and they were just afraid of it.
they were, and so that is the modern machine, okay? Because when we look at now, we have mechanized painting, mechanized welding. It did away with all those people too. So this is doing away with people too. We're going to have to learn, what it is that we have to do to bring everybody into this communication loop, no matter what. I mean, if we have to just talk to people, face-to-face is the way to go, no matter what. Okay, so the common task that I'm asking everybody to help me with, I'm asking you to help me so that I can help you, is we have to look at a couple of these goals here that we're looking at maintaining a visibility throughout all the territories and within our state councils and the conferences. So this is one of the things I thought was cool with the Veterans Program, is we came up with a plan, because they're not established as like this in as many places as this has been a longer ongoing program. So one of the ideas that I thought would work is that, it was mentioned yesterday, is the state councils, because at minimum we have 2 meetings per year per state. So if we look at that and just say it's 50 or 49, we have 98 to 100 meetings minimum. And then every other year we have an additional 6 to 7 meetings, because we have the territories. So we have that way to be able to have our visibility in the IAM structure. And then I just ask again, I'm reiterating, the realistic goals for all different levels of the structure or within the organization, because I don't want this to become a convoluted, complicated thing that's going to turn people off. I need it to be so that we can do it, because we can always build it up. We've got retiree clubs that they're probably empires, because they're very good, they're very healthy, vibrant, strong, they're huge. And we have some people that need to come into clubs, like, and we have 3 or 4 people, or maybe a couple dozen people. Same way with veterans. I was telling them that if they have a committee, they could have those veterans come to that committee. It's embracing all of the IAM structure. We're all union. It's us. It's ours, right? Okay, so assess the capabilities of what the coordinators are going to be able to do realistically, okay? Assess all of what anybody would do as being about realistically. What is it that you can do? What's your capacity? You can't work 7 days a week, or you can't work every Sunday, say, after 8 o'clock. I mean, we have to be realistic, okay? So the structure of the clubs and committees, what I want to do now is I'm going to look at some old figures, and I'm going to probably put a PowerPoint up for that to look at what we had, or what I know that we had. And so what I'm going to be doing now is reaching out, and I want to know what, you're not going to be able to give me all these answers today, I know, but I want to have it so that I know how many clubs we have that are functional, operational, who needs help, where are they trying to form some clubs, okay? That's the other part of what I'm going to work with as far as, bringing the entirety of the network, and that's going to be per territory and in the states. And then the other part of it is in the structure, okay, so where we have like a coordinator and we have we want to have the coordinator from the territory that will be able to utilize sub-coordinators and then the clubs, the club presidents, so that we'll have one unified message to be able to go into those areas. We'll be able to have a very effective conference call when we need to. We need to address an area like, I was talking to Kevin Cummings, great guy. I asked him if he was going to be able to make it here a little while back, and he said he had a conflict in the schedule, but he's sorry, he wants to make the next one. I'm sure he will. But they have 2 states. That is anybody here who's from out like in Oregon? Anybody from Oregon? Anybody from out that way? So California. Okay, so I believe it's Oregon and Washington State. They have early voting.
Yeah.
And so the thing is on a conference call, well, I have people all over in different territories, okay, and it's great for everybody to know this, but what I need to do is focus on that state, that territory, those 2 states in that territory. I need to be able to have a direct way to get there. So that's kind of like one example of what I'm saying. I'm not saying that that's all we're doing, but that's just one example of how one part of this new structure that I want to have, this will be effective. It's basic, simple. Now, with that being said, the person that's the contact for the territory will know that the GVP will be in the know that we have the retiree base over there taken care of. If they need help or what are they going to need to help that voter base over there so that we can have people, resources, if it takes reallocation, whatever that might be. So we know. So that's kind of, I want you to think this is where I'm thinking, and I want feedback. I want to be able to have a way to do this. So the end game here is that when we have all of these things together, that we're going to show that all of the alliances that we form is going to allow the support and resources for all of the sizes of groups, from the smallest that even lacking any committee or anything would be able to affiliate within any territory or state council or within a retiree club, as the members and activists within the local and just even in the community. We're going to reach out to those folks because everyone counts. We're going to combine the networking of all of the parts of the structure so that it's for the benefit of providing those resources throughout every territory and every other entity within the organization. Okay, and there's going to be a lot of other retirees and other unions that will be able to help us. Okay. So at the end game is it's going to help us work so that we keep to maintain and then hopefully gain back what they've been taken away from us, and we can work together to make sure that these benefits and services are there, not just for IM retirees, but for all retirees. All right, so that's really what I have that I want to start working on. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Yes, David.
Are you going to be working toward a base, a national base up in
Yes,
your office?
correct.
With the phone numbers and email if you can get them, so that, like your example, these 2 states, you can get your coordinators.
Right.
Tell them we're going to put a robocall into everybody. We have their phone numbers. And persons in that state will read a short, simple message. And then it will be sent to every person that you have the phone number for.
Well, I don't know if it's exactly that, but it's close, and I'd say it's really pretty much what we're trying to accomplish.